Welcome to the Real on Parenting, where we are taking take two of
Yes.
the day because uh, the computer had a hot flash in addition
It
to
did.
Danielle and I having a hot flash.
We
And
were in
so
sync.
my hot flash was at the end, Danielle's was first freshly starting,
Man,
and the computer was like,
man.
hold up, that's it for everybody.
Right. Let's all just pause and take a minute to regroup.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and mark ourselves safe in tech life. Shout out to my computer for being like, hey, what is going on here? This is over.
That is
This is over
funny.
till we all pull our lives together. I am Kiana Shaw. This is my co-host, therapist.
Give me a moment because
That's what
thank
happened.
you.
Therapist Danielle.
Right. Thank you. I'm therapist Danielle. Man, trying to get it together. All right.
And we
Yes,
are
I
your
think I'm ready.
favorite spot for real
Yeah.
conversations on parenting. Um, we are all about gentle parenting, not permissive parenting. We are all about expressing the ups and downs of parenting while understanding that there will be ups and downs. Someone asked me the other day, they were like, "Do you ever have issues with your kid?" I was like, "Absolutely." Right now, up
Right.
until recently, she has been an absolute angel. There have been a few
She's an
things that I'm
angel.
just like, what's going on here? Like, what are we doing? Right. But the same
Kids
way
will
I
be
don't
kids.
expect, right. In the same way, I don't expect my pastor's kids to be perfect. I don't expect my child to be perfect just because I'm
Right.
a parent coach, right?
Right.
Like there is real
Yeah.
life stuff happening to everybody all the time, and we're all
Right.
navigating it. And my pastor's kids are, they don't have all the Bible study answers just like the rest of the kids don't, because they all, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like we're not gonna do
Right.
that. And so when she said that, I was like, I hope my daughter knows, like, she don't have any pressure to be perfect. She just has the pressure to do what she's supposed to do, right? And
Mhm.
this is the
Yeah.
time where kids make mistakes, and this is the time where all the shenanigans should be happening, because once you leave this house, you no longer are under the covering, right? And so at that point, like, I need to know that you can make sound decisions, and
Some
we always talk about,
decisions.
making integrity-based decisions, and
Mhm.
confidence, and being the leader that you need to be. So I thought
Right.
that was
As
an
a solution.
interesting thing, an interesting conversation that I had. I was like, no, I fully expect all the shenanigans. I fully expect to, parent felony free, but get real close sometimes. You know what I mean?
Right. Your
And then
child,
my
your child ain't
sister,
living their best life until the flash of jail cell happens. So yes, 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 right.
but you know what? My sister said, Kiana, do you remember? Shout out to Trey. She was like, do you remember all the stuff we got into as kids? Do you remember the things? And she started naming things
Mischief.
that I was like, first of all, this should be deleted from your mental Rolodex. Like, what is going on here? Why is
Yeah,
why
yeah,
is there a hard
yeah.
drive of this information that you can go to?
Right. Why do you
You
remember
should
so many
never be
details,
bringing
first
this.
of all? Because I don't remember some of that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen,
So
and if ever in court, I still don't remember. I do not recall. I do not. So
yeah.
today we are moving
Okay.
forward. It is a reoccurring theme, I think, in coaching, in a lot of the lives of people. I think we, as a society, there's always something going on with children, right? Like
Yeah.
well, with parents that affects children. Let's say it that way. With parents that affects children. So today we're going to, I don't want to say the topic wrong, Danielle. I feel like I'm gonna say it wrong. Say, what's the topic?
So the topic is when the parent leaves, when one of the parents chooses to peace out. And this is going to be from the perspective of the children or from the child. But when the parent leaves, it could have been a legitimate reason, it
Right,
could have been a selfish reason, but it's from the perspective of the children. So they're like, Daddy left,
right,
Mama left.
right. And they feel abandoned, right? So we're going to tackle that child
Right.
abandonment. And it's not even about blaming a parent. However, that being said, I think that there is never a reason, never, ever a reason for a parent not to be in their child's life, right?
Exactly.
I was
Exactly.
speaking to a gentleman who had spent, I want to say, 10 years in prison. And he said, "Look, it's a whole gnat trying to fly around here." Like, okay. I was speaking to a gentleman, he had spent 10 years in prison, and he was saying in
Mhm.
prison, the money he made sure that half of it was sent to his son every month, right?
Mm,
And he was like, because
because
I
there's
gotta
still that
live in prison.
responsibility.
Right. He was like, I gotta live in prison. He was like, so I asked
Mhm.
my mom to do X, Y, and Z. I asked my sisters and my brothers to step in my absence. He was like, but where I could, he was like, and sending half was very difficult because then that
I'm
meant some
sure.
days I didn't get what I needed. He was like, but so what? Because my kid's not getting what he needs, which is me.
Right.
Um, and I thought about that because that perspective of he's in prison. He physically
Right.
cannot be here, but he is
Be there.
doing what he can, right? He can't, it's not
Mhm.
like he's out and he's absent, but he's going to work every day and he buying Jordans and all
Right.
that. Like he is literally in prison
Mhm.
for whatever reason, which we didn't get into. But he was like, I made sure to send home what I had. Um, and so when I think of that, and then I think of all the people who are like, this person makes it difficult, this person, is moving, they're like, but I'm chasing my relationship with my child. This person is alienating me. This, like, they're figuring it
Right.
out and they're fighting for their right and their ability to be with their child. So when we
Be
talk
with
about
you.
child
Mhm.
abandonment, I always want to make it clear that I don't think there's ever a good reason for it. That you and the other parent being horrible to one another has nothing to do with it. Now, if there is abuse,
With
let me rephrase that. If there is abuse and you are running
sure.
from the other parent, that's one thing. But just, oh well, we argue too much and I just couldn't deal. That's crap. So just want to point
Yeah.
that
Yeah. So, and just to do another caveat or this bar in regards to the abuse aspect, I don't want anyone who, if that is their experience, to feel that what we're talking about, what we're addressing, that you are wrong with what you're doing. Your first and foremost responsibility is the protection of your child.
out.
So if if around your child or if your child being exposed to the other parent is in an abusive nature, and I feel that I need to spell this out for some people. It doesn't mean that, oh, actually the parent provides structure. They hold the kids accountable. They make them do their chores, make them do their homework. That's not abuse. I'm speaking to the aspect that there's physical, there's emotional, there's verbal, there's
Right.
sexual, okay, abuse. Then first and foremost, yeah, you need to be gone. That's the level of protection that is required
Yes.
for your child, physically and emotionally. All right. So with that being said, we're speaking from the aspect of the parent that left, whatever the situation is choosing not to be an active, consistent part in their child's life.
Right.
And that's what we're speaking from. So from the child's perspective, there's that aspect of them being in shock, being in denial.
Mhm.
Um, and that can look very different, for children given their age range,
Right.
um, which addresses their level of being able to understand the situation or the
Right.
change in the dynamic, and also being able to express it. So there's they're more than likely, no, it doesn't feel good. They may be saying that they miss their mommy, they miss their daddy,
Right.
or maybe asking, where are they?
Right. Right.
You know,
I don't miss them because I ain't
where are
never
they
seen
at?
them. I just want to know
Is
how
it
come everybody got
where are
one
they
but
at?
me. Right.
Right. And as a parent, the words that you use is very, very important. Um, I'm not saying to not tell the truth, but I'm not saying either to be like, you got a deadbeat daddy. No, you got a dead, your mama don't care. No,
Right.
that's not what we're saying. Um, having age appropriate conversations
Yes.
with your children. So that
And
may look
maturity
something
appropriate.
like,
I think sometimes we be like age appropriate. She's 17, so she can know. And then it's like, but
well, yeah,
required,
right,
like
very
she all
true.
of 11. Like, you know what I mean? Like, calm down.
Right, right.
Stop
Mhm.
waiting on the day. Stop waiting on that date, right? And
Right,
understand that
yeah.
the mindset may not be ready. Yeah.
Right, right. So the ability to actually, basically their reading level, and I'm not being funny, but their reading level, but their the level of understanding.
Right.
So but having that conversation with them, it can be, Mommy no longer lives with us. Daddy no longer lives with us.
Right.
And that can be sad for you. That can be sad for the family. If you miss them, give them options. You can call them, you can text them, you can draw pictures, um, you can FaceTime them, you can look at old pictures that of memories you guys or we had together. There, give them an option of what they can do if and when they start experiencing, because they're already experiencing these feelings. But when they start experiencing these feelings and don't know what to do with it, and let them know who they can go to say how they feel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this, by default, as a parent, we will say, "Oh, you can come to me." And I want you to think about that statement first, because if you are in a space where you're still having a hard time with your own feelings, even with hearing the other parent's name, you are not the safe space for your child. You're not the emotional safe space for your child regarding this situation.
Even
So
if you try, like you and sometimes you're
it's
the
gonna jump
only
out your
space.
mouth, right? It's
Right.
gonna come out.
It's the only space that they have is to talk to you. That's not the same as you being the safe space. Sometimes being the
Right,
only space is like, okay, this is all I have right now. But
right,
your reaction shows that you're not the safe space. Your inability to hear it out, your
right,
inability, and let me be clear, as parents, we are more than likely not the safe space, mostly because we're emotionally
okay,
invested,
Tracy.
right? And we talked about that
Right,
earlier. Like this, there's
right.
a reason doctors don't operate on their own family members,
Under,
right? Like a
mm-hmm,
husband,
right,
doctor operating on his wife or vice versa, or one of them operating
mm-hmm,
on their kids or the parent, whatever.
right,
It's a reason that that doesn't happen because we are emotionally, we're like, I need to do what my child wants. Whereas I need to do what's best for my child is
right.
often
Yeah.
not necessarily the first consideration. It's stopping the pain that your child is going through first
And
versus let
also sorry to cut you off, but some
no,
parents
you
may
good.
say, I'm doing what's best for my child, but you're doing it from an emotional place. And so your perception of, but let me say this, you feeling what needs to be done that's in the best interest of your child may be correct, but the execution and the way that it is done is coming from an emotional reactive place. So being mindful of that, and like Coach Piano, like you said, you mom or you dad may be the only option. So it's that goes into another aspect of doing your work. So if you have a parent who has left, he gonna go, she gonna go, and
Mhm.
you don't necessarily know if there's gonna be any initial interaction or it's gonna be consistent at all, even for you yourself, you may be in shock.
Right.
You may be functioning like a robot, just going through the physical motions. So find your support. Because when the thing is when your child starts opening up and sharing with you need to sit your stuff aside
Yes.
to be that space for them in that moment because they need you. So,
And
with
we
that
do
being said,
it with our friends. Like I want to say that we do it with our friends a lot. Like when we don't like who they're with, right? And so we just go, okay, let me listen, right? And you still have your thoughts because you're human, but you hear them
Right,
out.
right.
We have to give that same
Yeah.
courtesy to our kids. And
Yeah.
sometimes what our children are saying is offensive to us.
It can be a
Because,
tough pill to swallow because it may be the
yeah,
truth.
especially when it's the truth.
Right. When they say out of the mouth of babes, girl, they gonna tell you, okay? So, and that may
But
be
we,
one
the
of
same
many
way
things
we
that you need to work
assure,
on.
right, and we assure our friends, we give them reassurance, we give them a consistent person in us, right? We give them our time. We like, okay, for the next
Right.
couple of days on the way to work, this is what we're gonna do. We check in with them, right? I had a friend recently
Mhm.
go through a breakup, and I'm just like, hey, checking in. I have a friend who always texts me, hey, I'm checking on your head and your heart.
Mm.
Right? Like I want to
Yeah.
know that you're good. And I just think that
Right,
that's such an
right,
amazing thing.
right.
And who am I not to extend that to my kid? Who am I not to
Yeah,
allow my daughter a safe space where she can check in with her head and heart? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, having that consistent assurance and stability to help them process
Mhm.
their emotions of this parent leaving, of this parent,
Right.
not even sometimes it's the parent leaving, sometimes it's the parent that put them out. You know what I mean? Like it's still whatever it is, but
Yes,
process.
yes. And let's give examples of that. That could be where both parents just mutually agree that them together is not a good thing,
Work. Right.
but they still share children, So and once again, this is from the perspective of children. So there's gonna be their view is not an adult view. Their understanding is not an adult understanding. Their level of insight is at the age that they are chronologically, but let's go back to mature wise as far as that process of understanding, right?
Mhm.
So it could have been a mutually agreed between both parents. It could have been a divorce. It could have been y'all been together forever or high school sweethearts, and it just didn't work out. Or it could have not been a relationship at all. Okay. Y'all was just being y'all, doing y'all thing, and then here we are, you know? Or you could have been in a place where you knew the relationship was not going to work out. You knew that the relationship was not a healthy relationship, but it was like, oh, now I got pregnant,
Right.
and you chose to not have your child be in that type of dynamic
Yeah.
in the household. So there's many different scenarios that I mean, and there's death. There's many different scenarios where we're speaking from the aspect where the parent actually has the choice and they chose to some degree, to not be a part, um, given the separation. Okay.
All right.
All right. You
So
wanna
I
go to the
think that
next one?
yes, because I think that sometimes as kids, and I'm thinking back to my own parents' divorce, right?
Okay.
Sometimes as the kid, you believe that you are at fault for the separation, right?
Right.
You're
Right.
like, if I'd have just got that A, if I'd have just, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not that anyone
Mhm.
has ever said to you, you are to blame. It's that
Exactly.
you're trying to figure
Right.
out what is my role here? Did I do something wrong? So there's feelings of guilt,
Right.
there's feelings of self-blame, right? It's because, when I washed the dishes that time, I didn't wash the
Right.
bottom of the
They're
plate.
trying to
Now,
make it make sense. Right. They're trying to understand and they're
yes.
trying to make it make sense.
And because they're trying to make it make sense where it does not make sense, like let's be clear about that,
Right.
because it doesn't.
Exactly. Right. Right.
Then they're having these feelings that are going in a circle, right? It's like
Mhm.
but it all has one focal point. It's my fault. And so a lot of times when children are in the middle of a separation or they're in the thick of what has already happened as the result of
Mhm.
parents being separated, they need to be affirmed that the abandonment is not their fault. And you may not know, but that should just be
Right.
one of the words that you give, right? Like, hey, just so you know, mommy and daddy couldn't pull it together. Just so you know,
Yeah.
this
Right.
was, and not
Right.
blame the other parent. Even listen,
Right.
I know that this is going, you know what? No, I ain't gonna say that. So let me say it like this.
Okay. Thank you for being aware of your words. Correct. Good job. Mhm. That took a lot. Yes,
Right.
yes, yes, yes. Right. I'm proud of you. Very proud.
Thank you so much. So I
So I'm
want to
like,
say this.
hold it, hold it. So
Even if you feel or not feel, even if the other parent is 100% at fault, they walked away, they made a decision, um, and like there's no coming back from it,
Mhm.
your child still needs to have the conversation of this was not a you thing. This was mommy not being able to process, or mommy being overwhelmed and needing a break, and or daddy deciding that this was no longer where he wanted to be. But it has nothing to do with us. It's about daddy
Right.
not being able to be with himself. And so we are the follow. Like you can't, but don't, by all means, don't be like, well, your daddy just didn't love you. Yeah, your your
Right.
daddy decided that
Right.
we are
Or
not
innuendo. Like,
right,
is he
because you
here?
saying your dad
Like, don't
deciding
right.
we are not where he wants to be may not be accurate. He might decide that you are
Right.
not where he wants to be. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And
As a
so
parent,
you,
right.
and because your mindset is me and my child are a package deal, that that would be nice. It works in theory, but practically, you and your child,
Right.
as it relates to the other parent. Now, if you have somebody that you're bringing into a relationship, you and your child are a package deal because I have
Right.
a child.
Right.
Like this is the extension of me. However,
Hmm.
with the person, the other parent, y'all not a package deal. It would be nice. Again, in theory, that works. But in
Hmm.
reality, I can have my child without having you. You are the shoes that they gotta wear. You're not the whole person. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, yes,
Right.
they
Yeah.
have to leave
It's
the
a
house
part
with
of it.
so that you have a part of that child's heart, but you and that other parent, like
Right.
when you word it in the daddy doesn't want us, mommy doesn't want us,
Hmm.
it's not accurate. It's not accurate.
Yeah.
So be mindful because
Right.
that hurts kids. And then
Right.
encouraging
It does.
it does. And so encouraging that you guys have open discussions about their feelings and validate their emotions, even to the point of your exhaustion. Because hear me when I say you are the parent.
Yes.
You are the parent.
Yeah.
Parenting is full of stuff you ain't gonna want to do. If we just being
Right.
honest, right? From trips to
Right.
the parks to working every day, because your
Right.
kid need to
Right.
eat every single day, right? 3 times a
Right.
day.
Right.
So
Hmm.
all of those things are a huge part of this. Like you will have to validate them and who they are. That's not the same as telling them that they are right, right? But it is about I feel you. I understand your emotions. That really sucks. I understand, right? Oh, that must be
Yes.
very painful. Just validating their emotions so they can get them out
Hmm.
and express themselves. And then you can come back and have another conversation. But you gotta give them that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I hope it does, because I feel like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It
go on.
does. No, it does. And just my experience with working with many children, many parents who are parenting from a unhealed child space, right?
Mhm.
You need to tell your child it's not your fault. You need to sound like a broken record. It
Yeah.
is not your fault. Because the narrative, the story that kids come up with, and granted, remember, it's from their perspective, it's from their 3-year-old lens, it's from their 5-year-old lens, it's from the perspective of them being able to try to make it make sense and understand.
Yes.
There, at some point, they're going to feel it's their fault. And it can be the parents review have it can be very, very clear that the parents get along better not together and they're more in sync and on the same page now since the separation,
Yes.
but the kid can still feel that they did something wrong.
Yes.
So letting your kid know verbatim saying these words, it is not your fault. And you can even reference, ain't you see me and daddy? We actually laughing. We were together. Did you ever see us laugh? No, you saw us not getting along and making that reference point. And it's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing conversation. And like Coach County will share, it's an ongoing conversation. It should be a continued open discussion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's
yeah,
not easy, but you got to do it.
right, right, right.
So,
Exactly, like
okay,
point exactly. Oh, I always got references, but I'm like getting the baby here, pushing out wasn't easy. But hey, there ain't no other option. The same thing. It ain't no other option. Okay,
because we
so
can't walk around with 4-year-olds in our stomachs. Okay, like that,
we
that is a
cannot.
horrible thought. The way I was ready for her to come out at 6 months. Wait,
Just
I
to
was
give a
tired.
reference point, but that is too funny. But
I was
you
tired.
something else to keep in mind, or I would say, well, yeah, an aspect to keep in mind is that you may start to see a lot of anger in your child or
I
children.
was just gonna ask
Um,
you about that because, like,
yes, you may see where your child done flip the script, like, who child is that? Because it is not mine.
right,
Who
flipping
you been
script,
talking to?
flipping beds.
Who you been around? Right. Like, it can be a total shock to the parent. Like, what in the world? I talk to them, I explain to them, and it's
Right.
like, that's a lot of emotions. That's a drastic change in a lot of emotions in a little body.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and as a parent, let me just say this. Even as an adult, when you're mad, when you're frustrated, when you're sad, when you're overwhelmed, is it easy for you to communicate your own feelings? No, y'all be fussing and cussing and shutting down and want to be alone. So why are you expecting your 5-year-old, your 16-year-old? If you can barely do it and not do it at all, don't have the expectation of your child. Because that means that in your household, communicating your feelings has not been modeled. Okay, so this is going to come back to the
Wait,
accountability. Okay,
wait.
so
Wait a minute, Daniel. You say that to people.
no,
Okay.
because it's the truth. It's the truth, and being able to have that level of awareness.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. When it's happening, when you're in it as a parent, yes, by default, the experience can be personal. You know what I mean? Like, you were not raised this way. What's going on? You know, why are you doing this? You are not. I've given you this and this and this and list up all the things, but your child is showing you, mom, dad, I'm having a hard time with this change.
Yeah.
Help me. That is what that means.
And I need you to help me right now.
So, but not now, but right now, right? Exactly.
Because
And
the longer
so,
we
with,
wait, the more difficult it is.
yeah, it can create other problems actually. But yes, so there's many things, and I would say hone into who your child is. So if your child is a child that doesn't is not one of many words, granted, you're always encouraging him or her to talk about their feelings, but two, they need an outlet, and you may not be it. So, and I would say, especially with kids, physical outlets is where it is. So if it's a sport, if it's art, if it's singing, if it's music, it needs to be something. In this day and age, the access to activities, there's plethora. Your
Yeah.
child needs something to do to be able to channel those emotions. But in addition to, it's not like go to basketball, play football. No, no, no. In addition to, it's like, as a parent, am I adjusting at home and creating this safe space for my son, for my daughter, for my children to be able to talk? And am I guiding it? So let's be honest. In our household, we may not have where we talk about feelings like that, but there is something that happened that needs to be addressed. This is not a one-time conversation. I addressed it, they understood, and we go, no, it's a check-in. How are we feeling today? Mommy's actually feeling okay. Or this week was kind of a struggle for mommy, but I'm glad it's over. I was a bit frustrated, but now I'm a bit more calm because it's Friday. You know, you have to be that example. You have to show and lead by your words and your actions.
And you know what? I think
So,
one thing that I have had to learn is to still, even in all of that, let Kayla see my human side. So earlier this week, I,
exactly.
I went into
Yes.
my room because when I tell you I have been operating from a space of overwhelm, it has
Mhm.
been a very difficult time. And it's not like, oh, my boyfriend broke up. Like, it's nothing like that. It's
Just
this is
life
the busiest season of
to
my of
all the parts, right?
right. So like work wise, like this is where we make, I'm gonna say 3/4 of the money that we make for the whole year, like just May through August,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
these 4 months are extremely difficult, right? Because there's so many moving parts and everything moves really fast, and there's still other things that have to be done. On top of that,
Right.
it's your space starts to reflect the chaos of your mind. So now there's dishes in the sink, and you know
Right.
what I mean? And then the
Right.
dishwasher broke, honey. That was a whole nother thing. They done been out here twice, and my dishwasher still ain't working.
Mm.
So, you know, but I
Mm.
digress.
Right. Right. I digress with you. Okay. I'm like, that's a trigger.
You don't put
So.
them doggone dishes out, I would have to wash them, right? So it's like there's all this stuff on top of like trying to spring clean or summer clean, because you know it's summer now. I missed the spring clean season. So it's like all these things, and then we're parenting, right? And then there's doctor's
Right.
appointments and all the things that go along with that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because like there were medical issues that popped up that, and we were like, where did this come from? Okay, well, we got to deal with it. All right,
Mm-hmm.
let's go.
Right.
So, and it's the overwhelm of doing it on myself, right? And
With
by
being the
myself, I
custodial
mean
parent.
98% is all on me, right? Because all the doctor's appointments are on me, all the, you know what I mean? And it's like, and her dad took her to one, but I still attended because it was such an important appointment. You know what I mean? But a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stuff just falls on mom by default. And so earlier this week, I was just like, okay, I need a minute. So I go in my room. I set my timer because I'm big on that. Like I'm like, I ain't got all day to cry. Like let me set this timer. So I let me
Unfortunately, we don't have that option, correct?
so
You
I
ain't got
set
all day to
the
be
timer.
human, right? So,
Right. I go in the room, I cry. I'm just like letting it all out.
yeah.
Timer goes off. I wash my face. I come out, but I'm still sniffling apparently. I didn't know I was
Mhm.
sniffling. But Kayla
Okay.
was like, you were like, right. So she's like, Mommy, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. Were you crying? Yes, I was crying, but I'm okay. Right. And she's just like, well, tell me, like she, you know, because she thinks she's a therapist. So she's
Yes.
just like, well, tell me, would you like to share? No, I do not want to share because everything, like, remember, I am your friend.
Right.
You're not my friend, right? We had that conversation recently. You're not my friend.
Okay.
My friends, right? You are my friend, Danielle. So I can call you, I can give you all the stuff and you can
Right.
give me advice. It's no way in hell
Right.
I'm gonna give my
Right.
11-year-old all the stuff. We're not.
Correct. You should not. Some people do.
Right?
We just clarify. If you're doing that, stop.
Stop
Hmm. Yeah.
it.
Stop it. Right. Right now.
But
Yes.
her knowing that I'm human, and I've cried in front of her before, right? When there was too much month
Yeah.
at the end of the money and bills got to be paid and things are
Yeah.
happening. Like I know that space. But I
Right.
also know that as I am giving her her space, I got to take mine, right?
Hmm.
But in her
Yeah.
going, well, mommy, is there anything that, you know, I can do? Is it, baby, there's nothing you can do because it has nothing to do with you,
Do with
right?
you.
Like, yes, she's a
Exactly. Yes.
byproduct
Not
of
in a
the stress,
rude
but
way, but
she's not the
understand that there
stress.
are adult things. Right.
Exactly. And I can
Right.
say, I need your dad to do this. I can say, I need, you know, my contracts to do.
Right.
I can say, I need my
Right.
contractors
Right.
to do this. But she's a
But
byproduct of that because she's a kid. She has no responsibility in any of it whatsoever. So
exactly.
me having the ability to express how I feel
Hmm.
and then be honest with her without involving her. Kids
Right.
need that.
Right.
Because can you imagine
Right.
how she would
Very
feel
true.
right now if I had dumped on her? Oh my goodness, this is what it is, and I need this,
Hmm.
and there's this, and this person called out, and that she don't have nothing to do with that.
Right.
I need to manage that.
Right.
And it's okay that she
Right.
sees me cry because
It
I
is.
feel like that humor, like we part of the reason why I was so hard on my mom was because I really did feel like you are a superwoman. You're super, what do you mean? I don't
Yeah.
understand what this is about. Like you are superwoman.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
What do
that,
you
that,
mean
that was
you
what
don't
was
have it?
portrayed, right? That's all you saw, right?
Right. Because she made it happen. I never saw her cry outside of like when her and my father were actually going through the divorce stuff. But I literally put that pressure on her without knowing, of course, because I'm young, right?
Right,
But
right, right. I'm glad you said that, but right. I mean, just to put
right,
things into perspective, because I would say a lot of us have a similar experience as that, right? when if you grew up in a home and you could have had the father in the home or not had the father in the home, and growing up, you said you needed and you had.
The end.
That's it. It appeared, right? And there was no unless there may have, how we can argue with ourselves, right? But the emotional aspect of, as we're saying now, being human, we didn't see that. We might have saw more of anger and irritation. And actually probably would just be anger because we didn't know what irritation was because we just saw the anger. But yeah, so you acknowledging, yeah, mommy is okay, and yes, mommy was crying.
Yeah.
Because feelings are complex. There's no, you only feel this way because like you can cry when you're, how would you, my daughter used to say, I have happy tears, right? And then we have sad tears. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, there's still tears, right? So
And at
feelings
the
are
end of
very
the day,
complex.
they're often pointed toward a parent because we're the safest
Mhm.
space for our kids. We should be, right? And
We
so
should
when
be.
when that anger toward that absent parent comes
Mhm.
up, like our kids deserve, like they deserve to be able to share that with the parent that's there. They also deserve an opportunity to share it with the parent that abandoned them.
Right. From their view. I keep on having to say that because somebody on every time that ear go up. But and let's say that you're not at a, because we're human, right? So let's say that you're not at a place or a space to be hearing anything about the other parent. Okay. Because some of us, I know parents who their children are grown and they still in that place and space where they can't even hear the other parent's name. All right. So if you have the
Go to
means,
therapy. Go talk to the go to, I'm,
right?
I'm
But
sorry. I'm sorry.
but if you
And
have
I
the
know that that's where you
means,
were going with it, that
right,
pissed me off right
exactly,
there.
right.
You got grown, these kids are 45. Go talk to the lady.
Right,
Sorry.
right. It's okay. But if you have the means, is get therapy for your children, get therapy for the family,
Yes.
because they need to see as a unit that you guys are feeling some of the same feelings too. It may
Mhm.
be at different times, but at some point there is, whether brief or long, you guys have experienced the same feelings. And being in a space where the emotional safe place can be and is, and as a parent you don't have to provide that, you can be a part of the healing and the journey. Get therapy, get your
Yeah.
kids in therapy, and you are in the room with them because you need it to. You may feel you good, but emotionally you need to be a part of the emotional journey for your children as well.
Yes. And know that as the custodian,
Excuse me.
that anger, that resentment, and I know you said this, but it's going to be pointed at you and what you're going to receive it as entitlement, as ungratefulness. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It's
And
gonna
that's
be it's gonna
okay.
be an
Never.
emotional gut punch, if you will. Yes,
Yeah.
it's gonna come for your jugular, and by default, you're gonna think of, I do this and I do that, and you can rattle off a whole list.
Yeah.
But I want you to remember, it is the your child's emotional perspective of trying to make it make sense. But
And the
also
therapist
within
can help
that,
you with that.
right, right, right. You're not actually, I'm not gonna say that because that could be another show. I'm not gonna say that. But anyways, I want to stay on track. So your child can experience or be worried or anxious of being abandoned always. It's kind of
Yeah.
like they can be stuck in that emotional space. So they don't necessarily want to get emotionally attached with anyone because they're going to leave. That is it. I call it the narrative. And I think I might have said this before, but the story we tell ourselves. We all do it. Your child can be in that emotional space of they don't want to do anything, they don't want to go anywhere, they don't have any friends. They used to be social, they're more to themselves. They don't want to do anything that involves that emotional or social interaction bonding
Mhm.
because they're going to leave.
And that's a scary thing to be
Was
a
it? It
child
is.
and feel like this parent left, And even though this parent stayed, they might leave. So I have a
Right.
fear that
Right.
I don't have the stability, because I never thought this parent would leave, even if they never met that parent. All the other kids got that
Mm-hmm.
parent. So here I
Mm-hmm.
am not having it. And
Right.
I'm afraid that this parent who is putting in the work is going to leave. They get angry, and
Mm.
I'm afraid they're going to abandon me too.
Or something's going to happen to them
Right.
that's going to result in them not being there.
And even when a
If you
parent
have,
passes away, that child still may have abandonment feelings because you're still not here.
right, right,
And
right.
now I got
And if you
anxiety
have,
about it. And now I'm insecure about where I live. And now you understand what I'm saying?
the
It's a
whole
lot.
world turns inside out, right? Um,
And
literally and
we can't handle
figuratively.
that as adults, let alone kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And some, if you have smaller children, that you may see your child revert back to, or let me finish my sentence. You may see your child revert back to what they used to do. So it's kind of like when you drop them off at daycare for the first time, and kind of like they're crying, they don't want to go. You may see some of that, or you may see this is a whole new thing because even in preschool or daycare or kindergarten, they didn't do that. Like they never did it. And now they're starting to cry, be extremely worried, asking multiple questions. When you coming back? What store you going to? How long you going to be gone? Those are indications. Those are signs, I should say, of fear that you're not coming back.
Yeah. And,
So
and
once
I'm so glad
again,
you mentioned that. That could happen by just taking
mhm,
them to school. Like when we drop our kids off at
right.
daycare and they like, you done left me with a stranger, lady. Like I don't trust you no more.
Right, right. And even adolescence, it can be it can be seen more through the questioning. You come back at 2 o'clock, right? You can be up at basketball, right? And just be mindful of if there is a shift of that shift. So if you typically just say, such as is going to pick you up at 3 after school like normal, if that's typical, okay. But if this is something that is different from the usual and the norm and even the wording, um, that is, I don't want to call it a red flag, but it's a red flag that your child is having a hard time with their feelings.
Yeah.
And you need to listen. It's not, oh, it'll be okay and give it some time. No, the time's now. The time is now. And have a talk with them and get them the support that they need or the help that they need. I don't want any parent to ever feel that, and kind of like what you said, Coach Keon, in regards, just sometimes as a parent, you're not the emotional safe space for your child for where they're at in that moment emotionally.
Okay.
So it's like as a parent, we have access, and if we don't know where it is, you better find out. You got friends, you got Google. There's so many things for you to find out. Where is a therapist? Where is there a support group? Where is there's mentorship? There's no excuse. Okay, there's no excuse. So take heed to that. Your child is saying, "I'm having a hard time." Their actions, their behaviors is saying that. Focus on that and tend to that.
Absolutely.
Excuse me.
And sometimes the safe space that we create has to be within the circle that we're given, right? Because again, everyone does not have access to therapy and things like that. But
Right, right, right.
I know that I have several friends that I know Kayla can go talk to. If I am not the safe space, you can call Auntie
Hmm.
Danielle. You can call Auntie Janita. You can call Auntie Naisha. You can call Auntie Adrian. Like there are people who
Yeah,
are in place. You can call your
right,
grandma, right? Which she
right,
weaponizes her grandma, right? She'd be like, I'm telling.
right.
But
Because she know
those,
grandma's the only person you really scared of. So that's how that works.
and I am.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we're thinking inside and outside the box, because sometimes
Mhm.
we get stuck in, I don't have the money, I don't have
Yeah, right,
the financial
right.
resources, but you have people. You have
Hmm.
people.
And even with you saying that too, it makes me think of like sometimes you don't have money for therapy, but there's school counseling. You
Mm,
know, there's always, for the, I won't say always, but a good portion of the time, there is a resource that your child can have that is either minimal to nothing as far as financially
yeah.
through that, whether that's through the community, whether that's through the recreational center, whether that's through the city that or the county that you live in. So when I mention like Google, that is what I'm referencing. You just have to do the work, to find it, but it is there and they are there as far as resources go.
Okay, so let's not get stuck on the lack of resources and let's focus on how.
Right. Because I'm thinking of all the excuses that I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me get redirected. So right, yes.
All
All
right.
right.
So
So
go ahead. Go ahead. I like, yeah, you are leading this, just FYI. So you
oh, am I okay? Okay.
I'm just putting
Um,
my 2 cents in as we go. But yeah, this is you.
all right. So and we kind of briefly kind of mentioned like behaviorally, but behaviors you may have where your kid is fighting. You may have where your kid is telling you no. Okay. You may have this child and you like, okay, this is not the person that I birthed because they acting like they want some. Okay. They acting like that they want the Danielle before she became a mama and found Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, they acting like they nothing you
Not you
but,
giving my baby
so
that I Turner look. You gonna stop that. You hear me?
so it can be and also and I would say by default, everyone you think of like the very reactional, very defiant, be oppositional behaviors. But also let's think of the opposite of that. They're sleeping more. They don't want food. Don't say, well, they're not hungry. Um, they're not as social as they used to be, where they would be out in the living room watching TV with the family or wanting to do with things with friends, and they don't want to do nothing. They don't want to do nothing at all. They're barely coming out of their room. They're not on their phone. It's so just
Or
behavior is
or
just
the
not
one that's a
about
trigger for Miss Danielle. They close
what
the
is that?
they close.
Well, I'm working on it. See, actually, that's how I know I'm making progress because you said that and I felt nothing. So that lets me know,
Come
okay, I'm on the right track.
on.
Right? Yes.
Clap
Right,
clapper.
right, right. Because I'm doing my work, right? Yes, yes, yes. Right, right. Or they close their door, okay? They close their door and it's like, why are you closing doors at my house? So these are things to keep in mind of behavioral changes, or your child might start acting like a baby. Girl, you 10, what's happening? Why are you having baby talk? What's going on here? And be mindful of my tone. I have, I don't know if y'all noticed, but I have moments where I be regressing back to the trauma. But
I have picked up on the tone before. Yes. Thank you for
right. I am becoming aware. I'm doing my work, right? At
come
least I
on in.
acknowledge it. All right. But you may see some regression as far as your child acting a younger age or behaving a younger age than what they actually are. So these are things to be mindful of. These are things to not get mad at. This is the way that your children is showing you they're having a hard time with their feelings. They don't know what to do with it. You take it, I'm telling you what to think. Take the message as, Mommy, Daddy, I need help. The feelings are too much.
Yes.
And when we can't put words to what we feel, it comes out behaviorally, right? So when people say, I got anger management problems, no, you don't. You don't know how to communicate your feelings, and it's frustrating. So you're displaying your behavior, your feelings through your action.
Absolutely.
So, same with kids. Same with kids. They're going to what they know. It don't make it right. Don't get that confused. But they're going with what they know.
Right. And the
So
thing is to pick up on those keys, the cues, excuse me,
right.
because if they're
I
acting
knew
out,
what you meant.
what are we doing? What would be the purpose of you, leaving milk out? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not forget. That's not something you just
Right.
forgot. But something that I try to do is I punish rebellion and I forgive mistakes. I just address the mistakes, but rebellion is where the punishment is. So if they leave the milk out, now they're leaving the milk out more and more, then that's more of an awareness activity. Okay, so let's start thinking about this. Like, do we need to put a post-it on the door at night to make sure that all these things are checked off in the morning? Like, let's do that, right? And people tend
We
to
need a
go,
chore list, right? The
no,
nighttime routine, right?
right, and people go, no, they should remember. They should don't know that's. But how many of us walk out the house and we like, oh, I left my lunch on the counter.
Right.
I didn't turn off that light. I know I did. Oh,
Right.
and me, my big one right now, I forgot to close my door. That dog gonna be in my room terrorizing, right? So
Right.
we're gonna
Right.
forget things when we're going through things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
have all kind. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, I got all kind of post-it notes on my desk right now because that's just
Yeah,
real life.
so that's our love language, right? We
Right.
understand the post-it note,
Well,
all right?
it's my brain language because
And
my
find
brain is
it,
like, what are we
right?
doing here? I don't
How
know
the
nothing
brain
about
works.
this. So
Right.
my brain, I
Right.
don't have a choice, right? But at the same time, um, understanding that like that acting out, that withdrawal, that going into the room and staying in there for hours, sometimes we got to pull them out. Sometimes we
Yeah.
have to say, hey,
Right.
like I get it, but you're gonna do your homework in here today. Oh, mom,
Or
why
join them.
you just got to do it in here. Or
Yeah.
join them
Or
in their
join
room.
them.
Okay, you
Yeah,
gonna do
go in
I'm
there.
gonna come in here and I'm gonna read. I'm not gonna say nothing to you. I'm gonna just read,
Right.
right? But don't do
And they
the
may come out when you join, but you're right.
right. Well, then it's a
I'm
win.
just saying.
Like, but you mentioned like kind of the developmental parts and when they regress in their milestones, and like you said, the baby talk and things like that, it's time to
Mm-hmm.
bring in, a professional. It's time to go,
Right.
okay, hold on now. Like I've talked to
Mm-hmm.
her, I've talked to him. I don't know what else is going on. This just
Right.
seems a little
Right.
weird. Let me go make sure that we're good over here. Yeah. It's time to bring in the professional and
Right.
back off of the parenting as it relates to the professional. Don't give the professional instruction. This is what my point. I'm gonna tell you now. If you coach, if you're having sessions with therapist Danielle, she's gonna be like, wait a minute, hold on now, because I'm a professional here. You're not
Right.
mommy,
This is
you're
my
a
office,
client.
okay?
Right. You're a client. Like,
Right.
let's be clear. Right. And I
Right.
think that's another thing. Like a lot of parents be like, I'm gonna tell the therapist exactly what to say. Here go the list, it's
Mm.
number.
Yes.
I
Or what
alphabetize
to
the question.
address. Right.
Right.
Correct. I work really well with them because that was my mama. Yes. So I have an expertise in that one. So, but yes, but very true. Very true. Be in that space of being acknowledging and possibly being in that emotionally uncomfortable space of being the client as well as your child because you guys both have emotions.
Yes. Yes. And that's okay. It's okay to have
Right.
those emotions. Look, I feel like we need a
Right.
part two because I know that as we're monitoring them, um, and because we are progressive parents, we're trying to discipline versus punish,
Right.
understand them
Right.
versus accuse them, right? Like there's all these
Hmm.
things, but dealing with the fact that our child sees us as not understanding, not knowing what we're doing, not
Right.
not providing them with what
Right.
they need. Like there's
Hmm.
a real
Or
life
being
thing
the
that,
enemy, right?
or being the enemy, but there's a real life thing that they are processing, and we don't get to
Hmm.
choose how they're processing it. We don't get to say, oh no, your process is faulty and wrong. Like we can think that, but when you go and say that, what they gonna do? Double down on their process because no, I'm not wrong. No, it's not faulty. No, it's not. You know what I mean? So it becomes a thing where we have to step back and allow them the space to say and feel and be,
Right.
not necessarily do, depending, do within reason, right?
Right.
And
And
I
I
think
want to clarify and correct me if I'm wrong.
mhm,
So, what they're doing can be wrong. You
absolutely
cannot tell your child what they're feeling.
very good.
So, no
Thank you for
feeling
correcting
is
me.
right or wrong, but how you respond or attempt to deal with that feeling, that can be unhealthy, it can be unsafe, it cannot be right. So, that hence would or there's an aspect where it can be kind of out of their control. And real quick, I had a client that I was working with, there was a separation, and the child started wetting the bed. Granted, they were way past this milestone. They were in middle school. So why we went to bed? And the mom was very just confused, like, why is this happening? Your daughter is in such emotional distress that her body cannot regulate.
Mm.
Obviously, go to the medical doctor first to make sure everything's good. And it was found out she's good medically. All right, the next step is that therapist
Yeah.
ASAP. Okay, so you
She
cannot
might
tell
not
your
be
child
safe,
what
she
they
might not.
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on there, but there is that aspect of how is your child showing you? How is your child attempting to manage these feelings? That's too much. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as well.
Absolutely. Let's see.
All right.
What
Trying to see here. So, and we kind of like continuing to segue in regards to the behavioral aspect. But I mentioned like you may see fighting, but also academics. Your children's grades might significantly decline, or that you may see that emotionally school is like they can't handle school anymore, or it's becoming more difficult than usual for them to just get through their school day. They may have difficulty focusing. They may not be able to finish their classwork. They may be defiant. They may be going to sleep in class. And the things that I'm saying may be, I'm referencing that are opposite of what their norm, what their typical functioning within the academic setting at school. So or their eyes may be open, but their brain not working. They're mentally somewhere else. They're just more disorganized. They just all over the place. Okay, so
But I think that
the
also their
acad
grades may improve because they
okay,
like, it's too
there's
much
that part
chaos over
too,
here.
right?
I'm gonna just focus in on this. And now they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves to succeed. And they
Right,
like got
right,
all AP classes. Who told you to do that? Like, girl, if you talk
right,
to
and
them,
very
they'll tell you.
true.
All them AP classes, no.
Right. Right. And that's
So
very, very true
it
as
could
well,
be a
because it
very,
comes to the aspect of kind of like to explain as far as the psychological aspect is that I cannot control home, but I can control this. And granted, there's a fine line between making good grades and feeling the need to make all A's and staying up to the crack of 9, getting minimal sleep, not eating, or having a decreased amount of food intake, not engaging in social activities. There's a fine line with that. So if it's and unfortunately it is perceived like she's making good, straight A's, and that's being reinforced and praised. But remember the whole picture. And how is your child presenting emotionally? Is he or she looking like a zombie? Are they more irritated? Do they find themselves being angered quickly? Can you not tell them anything at all, or they're barking back at you? Just the whole picture. Keep those things in mind. That it also is an aspect of your child showing that they're having a hard time with their feelings, and have that communication with the teacher. They don't need to know all your business, but you can just say there's a recent transition at home that may impact my child's function. If you see certain things, I am okay with them going to the school counselor if needed, because my child's with you 6 hours out the day. So having that communication with the teacher can be very, very helpful as well. Yeah, that's my take on that. I would say just having that communication with the teacher, and I would say I even tell parents to reach out to the school counselor as well. Just kind of just an FYI, this is what's going on. You can, if you don't have the means for a counselor or therapy, can you just check in, with him or her, see how she's doing, see how he's doing, and if you have any recommendations, please share with me. So, because this is maybe new, you may not know what to do. So, please share with me so I can provide them or support them, I should say, in the best way that they need at this time.
yes. And then when your child has a teacher that they absolutely love and adore, establish that relationship with that teacher, because they will learn things that you will never know, right? Because they're learning things from the perspective of the child's friends, right? They have their own
Mm-hmm.
perception, their own interactions. You may never meet half these people that your child will talk about during the school year. Like, who is Emily? Who is Lee? Who is
Sound
Andrea?
like me. Like, girl, all these names. You got
And
it
they be
3 to 5
like,
max,
that's been
okay?
my friend since fourth grade. Girl,
Since when?
I have never heard this.
Right, but right.
And don't tell me. I would know if you had a friend named Barack. Like, don't play with me. Like,
Stop it.
I would have heard that name. That name would have stuck with me, right? So
Okay,
the
what you want
point
off
is
me.
the
You have no
teacher.
sense. Okay, I'm ready.
I
I'm gathering it
digress.
together. Go ahead. Right.
The point is
Right.
the teacher has a reference point for all of these things. And the teacher can say, hey, I just want you to be aware of this friendship because this person has these qualities that I've observed. Or, hey, I think that this person is a great person. And I think that there's an opportunity for your child to grow in this area because this person is a
Right.
part of this or they're a part of that. Like the teacher has an insight that you don't have. When you have teachers,
Right.
at middle school, they got different teachers every period, right? But they still
Mhm.
have their favorites. In the younger years,
They
your
do.
children have one teacher, and that teacher is who you are really co-parenting with because again, they got your
Right,
child
right.
6, 7 hours a day, alive,
Mhm.
awake, and alert. So
Yes.
in that situation, they really are your default. Like, hey, have you observed this? Hey, is there anything that you can share with me?
Yes.
Because they
Mhm.
know. And they know
They know.
more, especially more than the non-custodial parent, although the non-custodial parent typically knows all the amazing things about our kids, right? Because it's like, oh, I know she had this, I know she had that, I know she had this. But the non-custodial
Yes.
parent could be like, hey, I know they favorite superhero. The non-custodial
Yeah.
parent might be like, I know, that they can do this backflip, or I was there when they did the jump shot because we do that together. We do it together. The non-custodial parent can talk about that. But the custodial parent in this case is at a disadvantage a lot of times because we are very much like, this is what has to
Yo.
be done. This is where we have to focus. Like there's a lack of understanding in a lot of cases, I think, because we're very one track. Like I got to come in and I got to do homework. I got to do dinner. I have to do laundry. I have, you know what I mean? There's a
There's
process.
many aspects of it that has to be addressed. And
Right.
so
Whereas the
with
non-custodial parent gets to do the fun stuff
right.
that we
Exactly.
don't get to,
Right.
and the
Right.
teacher
Right.
gets to interact with the fun
Mm,
people that we don't see. So it's really
right.
about understanding that we are working as a unit. And from the child's perspective, when the unit is broken,
Mhm.
I can go two ways. I can use this to my advantage, or I can
Mhm.
succumb to the disadvantage of it.
Yeah. And something else I want to say real quick is the
Mhm.
aspect of the parent who is no longer within the household, the parent who left, the parent that the child feels abandoned by.
Right.
They may have where they're just not active or just not consistently active. So during those time frames that they do see the kids or they do have time with their kids, it may be fun, right? So that parent may have the view and experience that, oh, they're good. They don't do that with me, you
Right.
know, and can really minimize, or it can go over their head. It can be both in regards to the emotional impact of feeling abandoned, feeling like daddy left me, mommy left me, based off of those intermittent experiences
Right.
of fun. And I'm using certain words for a reason. So there's
I
that
picked up on
perspective
that.
as well. So you can write it down, take it, but don't sticky note. But so some of y'all need them. I'm just saying. I be dropping nuggets. I don't know if y'all pick them up, but I'm just saying. We giving all kind of wording because we all got all those situations. But yes, so
So you
Those,
need
and
a
there
friend
are,
that's a therapist or a counselor or a lawyer. They help you word things. We talked about that before. They give you the wording versus the friend that's like, all right, I'm gassing up the pacer. Okay.
not the racer. Oh goodness. But with that being said, I mean, there are many other things that to take into account in regards to your children, when their household does not consist of both parents. But hopefully these aspects of what we shared and addressed was helpful. Hopefully it opened your eyes to things that may already be happening with your children, and giving you the information needed on how to address them, how to help them.
Yes, absolutely. And we're gonna pause right there because I think that we could do a part two to this. Because I
Yeah,
know that there's more to
yeah,
share, right? But that
there's
being
more. That's
said,
why I say a part of the there's many, right? But yeah, there's more.
yeah. So, all right. So you guys have spent an hour with us, and so we're gonna let you go on with your day. Uh, if
Right.
you have questions, if you have comments, please email us at therealonparenting@gmail.com. We are happy to address some things. We will keep you anonymous. Please know that we will keep you anonymous. Please stop emailing us asking us to address things just in the inbox, because like that's the whole purpose of the show. It's
Right,
to
right,
make it
right.
open
And
and
your
fun.
experience more than likely is an experience someone else is going through as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So us being able to share it anonymously, again, we will not
Mhm.
divulge who you are. So there's that. All right, I am Coach Kiana Shaw, and my co-host,
Therapist Danielle.
and I would like to say have an amazing week. And in the words of Tabitha Brown, even if you can't have a good one, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.